walks or crawls at one time or another. And I'm here to kill you, little Bill, for what you done to Ned.
What a son of a bitch.
No good, goddamn son of a bitch.
No impression from Nathan?
Nope, he's done with it. All right, welcome back, folks. This is DQP Does. We're gonna do some westerns now. This is gonna be for Unforgiven. It came out in 1992.
Yep.
91, 92, something like that. We got a cast listing on IMDb, I'm sure. I'm going to look that up real quick. Obviously, it has Clint Eastwood in it. Gene Hackman. Clint Eastwood plays William Money. Gene Hackman plays Little Bill Daggett. Morgan Freeman plays Ned Logan. Richard Harris plays English Bob, which English Bob kind of amused me. James Woolvelt was the Schofield Kid. Saul Rubinek was W.W. Beauchamp. Francis Fisher was Strawberry Alice. Anna Levine was Delilah Fitzgerald. And that's pretty much the majority of the important characters. I guess David Mucci and Rob Campbell were the Cowboys, Quick Mike and Davy Bunting. And that was pretty much all the important characters, I think. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
And everybody else was kind of...
What was his name? English Bob?
Yeah, English Bob.
I kind of want to start there.
Okay, go for it. Let's do it.
So I like the utilization of his character, because you have this, because he's built as such a badass, like from the very first scene that he's in, and it continues to build upon him as he's such a badass, and then there's this anticlimactic part where Gene Hackman basically just kicks the shit out of him.
Yep.
And so, you do that to establish that Gene Hackman is
a super badass. Yes.
Like, he's the badass of the movie until Clint Eastwood has a drink.
Yeah. Nathan doesn't give a fuck.
I wasn't ever properly introduced.
Aw, come on.
Yeah, I know. I wish we had a better host.
Yeah, I'm a terrible host.
Yeah. It's been documented.
It's our regular cast. You guys know this by now. It's me, Russell, and Nathan.
But
dude, you said his name.
You forgot our guest.
Oh.
Clint Eastwood.
You don't say his name in his voice. What the hell's wrong with you?
That's how he likes it.
Clint Eastwood always talks about Clint Eastwood.
Doing Clint Eastwood stuff.
It's a hell of a thing to kill a man. That was terrible. That was bad. We're really bad at this.
He directed this.
And produced it.
Yeah.
Was that
some David Peoples guy
wrote it?
Wrote it, yeah.
Yeah. Was that the one that blew your mind?
No.
Oh,
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Because I got some extra stuff to add to it that if you're a fan of this movie, you're going to be pissed off.
Well, let's keep rolling with the characters for a second. So this is 92. So we have seen, by the way, this is whiskey.
Yep.
It was his butt plug.
Edit.
Oh, no. What the fuck?
JK.
It was his butt plug.
Oh, now it's in there twice.
It was his butt plug. So anyways, This movie is really awesome. I can't edit that.
Jesus Christ.
All right. English Bob. I liked what they did with his character. I liked his send-off. I liked the lead-up to Gene Hackman being a badass. Although in 1992, I don't necessarily feel like you would have needed to build Gene Hackman as a badass.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was too young to like really watch a lot of movies like this. Because I was 6, so I mean, I think I saw this a few years later. I just didn't remember it because it felt pretty new to me. But I know I've seen it, so I don't remember.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like he's in a bunch of other shit where he's at least like a loudmouth prick, if not actually a badass.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is maybe maybe we're 6 or 7 years later, but he was Lex Luthor, and
yeah, which
old
one
Superman
was that?
movies.
That was probably around the same time, Superman 2 or something, when he was Luthor.
Wasn't he Luthor in all of them?
I don't know.
They would have been before this, right?
Yeah,
I think that was in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think 6, 7 years before this movie came out.
Yeah. I really liked Gene Hackman in this movie. I like that character. Unfortunately, he plays that character a lot in different variations of it.
Quick and the Dead.
Yeah. We're going to get to that movie when we watch it, but I think this was an interesting version of it where he's the sheriff. You know, and he's not necessarily protecting the town. He's just protecting like the businesses. It's kind of a weird thing that starts this whole movie. You know, like the whore gets cut up and you would think that like they would punish the guys. And, you know, it's the Old West, either like, you know, an eye for an eye at least or something similar, right? But they look at the women as properties instead of as people.
Well, and he was gonna punish him physically with the whip,
right?
And
but they didn't
kind
think
of
it
like
was enough.
Verbatim till the owner of the establishment spoke up and said, "Well,
the girls didn't think it was enough. They wanted him to die.
They didn't think it was enough." But then the owner of the establishment said, "Hey, you know, these are my property. I have these contracts. This is how much she's worth. Like, this is how much I'm not going to get now." And then the sheriff kind of switched his tune and started to treat it as if it was property.
Right.
Instead of, property damage. You know, it is interesting thing here.
Yeah, that starts the whole movie. It's kind of fucked up. And then the girls just go off the deep end and like try to hire a fucking assassin to kill these guys.
Yeah.
We're missing key points of this movie.
What's that?
Why did the whore cut up the guy?
Why did the whore cut up the guy?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why did the guy cut up the whore, you mean?
Oh, yeah. That's what I meant.
Other way around, yeah.
Yeah, flip it.
Because she laughed at his tiny dick.
Yeah, that's an important factor.
Yeah, which
he shouldn't get laughed at for his handicap, okay?
So he also shouldn't cut up somebody's face, no matter how tiny and laughable his dick is.
He was fun. He didn't find it funny. It wasn't funny.
You got to learn to laugh at yourself.
I guess. There's another thing, too. Before they went off the deep end, they started slinging some shit.
Yes.
Literal horse shit.
Yep.
That's when they went off the deep end. They were throwing poo.
Well, they were getting the money together before that, I think.
They were still throwing poo, dude.
Well,
and that guy was trying to be nice and give her a horse. The best one he had.
And that guy was actually trying to stop him from cutting her up. So, like, I feel like he got lumped in unfairly.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, he held her at first, and then he was like, whoa, that's enough. And then tried to stop.
I guess that's
so,
true.
I mean, you gotta treat your sex workers with respect.
It's the oldest profession.
You can't laugh after that. I mean, that's accurate.
I'm laughing because the look that you gave me, not because of what I was saying. But you do have to.
Yeah.
You do have to treat your sex workers with respect, and that is actually something that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
As a topic is that's actually sort of, that used to be a profession that we allowed.
Right.
And then now, and through the ages, it's not always been illegal.
I mean, it's still a profession. It's still allowed in some places.
Well, in some places,
very few places.
Yeah, most of the U.S. it's illegal. So,
well, I'm not just talking about the U.S.
Like Amsterdam and Nevada, it's legal,
Yeah.
but Nevada has very weird stipulations with it being
Right.
legal. You know, like you can't advertise it. Like, but it's if you
But
know
they
it's there,
do.
you can go there. Yeah, they get around the
Yeah.
no advertising thing.
It's a stripper that comes to your room and then maybe blows you.
Yeah. But I did. So when the headmistress sticks up for the girl. Yeah, Alice. When she sort of sticks up for the girl, and she says, you know, she didn't know any better. She's new. She insinuates this certain air of professionalism that they have even then, in this 1800 time period.
Yeah, 1880, I believe.
1880. So I thought that was interesting. I liked the dynamic that they took with incorporating the whorehouse into the story. And I mean, it really is kind of like the focal point that everything's kind of centered around.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps coming back to that building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it starts there, but it kind of snowballs, right? Because it's not it. At some point, it becomes a game of telephone, where I think if Clint Eastwood's character had heard from the Schofield kid that, you know, she'd been cut up, but she was fine. You know, I mean, she was scarred and stuff. He probably wouldn't have left.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the money that got him to leave. It was a woman being horribly disfigured, because what he repeated was that she had gotten her face cut up, her eyes gouged out, ears cut off, fingers cut off, and her teats cut. Like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know why they called them teats, but whatever.
She cut her teats. She
But-
had her teats cut.
Yeah. So, like, you know, that obviously sounds like somebody was all but killed,
Right.
you know. So, and he had this mantra that he kept repeating to himself, that his wife had cured him of his wickedness,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that he had this respect for his wife that kept him on the straight and narrow. And that extended to, it seemed like it extended to other women, that he had this respect for them. Almost an overprotectiveness beyond respect.
Yeah.
And I mean, it continues throughout the movie, but like, I feel like that's what got him to leave, not necessarily, you know, the reward that they were offering.
I think to a certain degree, I guess I disagree, because I think it was more about the money. Because I don't think all of the rumors about him, because the small theme of the movie is that the communication, the game of telephone is really bad, right? So how much of those stories about him are actually true?
Right.
Because at no point in time is he actually depicted in the movie as that kind of guy. Even when he's drunk, like, he's still like, he doesn't shoot the people who are unarmed. He shoots the bad guys. So, and then when he sees her, when she's taking care of him, he's not like, oh, you're not as bad as I thought you were.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. And I wonder if it was sort of to allude to, he sort of knew already,
right,
that maybe the rumors weren't as bad as.
That is something that I guess, like, I didn't really think about picking up on it, but that is like a running theme throughout the movie, is that literally everything that is said about him and about other people, and it's even examined in at length, even as like a first person version of events, is untrue or greatly exaggerated. When we're talking about English Bob, the story that Beauchamp wrote about the Duke of Death, and like basically the whole thing is fictionalized, other than the end result of whatever that guy's name was being killed by English Bob.
Right.
You know, because he said it was a fair fight. The guy pulled both guns, and English Bob beat him, and it was English Bob that was defending a lady, and it turns out that English Bob was just butthurt because that dude apparently had a huge penis for some reason. They decided to talk about, because his name was, what, I can't remember his name, but whatever it was, Two Guns, and the reason was because his dick was as long as a fucking revolver.
Yeah.
So they called him Two Guns because he carried a gun. And he had sex with the woman that English Bob wanted, and he was upset about it, got drunk, and started shooting. the
Poor
other
duck.
guy, the other guy just got unlucky
Yeah.
and like shot himself, and then his gun blew up, which let Bob kill him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would have destroyed Bob,
Right.
both physically and anatomically.
Which is amusing because then you have the story inside of the story,
Yeah.
both revolving around two dudes being weirdly insecure about their penises.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie actually has a lot of depth to it. Unlike English Bob. That isn't really necessarily there on the surface because like I've watched quite a few westerns and it's usually like, oh, this person's a bad person, this person's a good person.
Right.
They got to shoot at each other. For the most part, that's a
how it
western
breaks
movie.
down.
But I really think this movie's acclaimed as much as it is because of the amount of depth that when you actually, I've never watched it like we've been watching these movies.
Right.
Like, hey, I
You're
need
just
stuff
like, hell
to talk
yeah,
about.
fucking Clint Eastwood just killed that guy. Sweet.
Yeah. I'm like, Clint Eastwood's in it? That means he's going to go, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Right. And it's interesting. I like I like how they're all hesitant to kill people, like all three of them.
Yes.
Ned, Will, and Schofield Kid. They're all like, when they get to where they need to pull the trigger, at least in the beginning, all three of them either don't do it or hesitate greatly.
Yeah.
Because the kid hasn't killed anybody, even though he claims to have killed half a dozen. And Ned and Will have been out of the game for over a decade. So they're both, and Will had like tried to change for his wife and tried to keep it going for his kids.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting dynamic. And then like the switch flipping at the end when they killed Ned.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, I did too. Because there's the small bits throughout the entire movie where people keep offering him whiskey. And he's like, no, I'm okay. And then at the
even
end,
when he's sick.
Yeah, even when he's sick. And then at the end, after he finds out they've killed Ned,
He just like snatches
he just
it.
takes it from the kid's hand and just is like, takes a drink and he's like, kill them sons of bitches.
Yeah, it's just like starts asking questions, and after every sentence he takes like a big fucking drink out of the bottle.
Yeah. So as we were watching Clint Eastwood drink, we eventually actually, right at the point when Clint Eastwood started drinking, we were like,
well, because Nathan was like, when he was in the bar the first time, when he's sick, he's got the whiskey in front of him, and Nathan's like, oh shit, here we go, he's gonna become the drunken master. And we're like, oh yeah, and then it doesn't happen. And then when he starts drinking, we're like, oh shit, we should drink too. So we busted out the whiskey, and
what are you guys drinking?
we are drinking Bullet and various ginger sodas, ginger beer and ginger ale, because we only had one can of ginger beer, which would be a Kentucky Mule because it's bourbon and or rye bourbon.
Delicious.
And ginger beer. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Sexton Single Malt Irish Whiskey, which I do believe you got me.
I got you a bottle at some point.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the bottle that I bought. I didn't put my name on it.
Probably should have.
He's just over here doing shots.
Yeah.
That's how I like my whiskey. So the writer character,
Beauchamp.
I feel like that's kind of a trope.
It's in a lot of westerns.
Yeah.
And video games.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's in Red Dead, is because of this movie and other movies that have the same kind of character in it.
But I feel like it even though it's a trope, we've seen it a few times, it still kind of it does what it needs to do, and it adds that. For me, it adds that kind of like, oh, this is why I know this story happened.
Right.
And I like that. Like we've talked through a lot of these about my disdain for, I know I'm the audience. Stop making me feel like I'm the audience.
Right.
So I really enjoyed that was in this movie.
Well, that's how a couple of movies, I can't remember which ones, it might be Quick and the Dead, are told. Is it Quick and the Dead where it's told through a narrator that's like one of the people in the movie, and they're old?
Is it quick?
No.
You're
movie
Young
is
Guns.
That? Is that Young Guns?
Young Guns.
There's what's the other Western, like, modern game that's not Red Dead?
Gun?
No.
That's so old.
Call of Juarez. One of the Call of
Mm.
Juarez is told that way. There's one on Xbox One.
I'm pretty sure Call of Juarez is this like continuation or the prequel to Red Dead.
No, it's different.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Like Red Dead Revolver?
Yeah, Red Dead Revolver, then Red Dead Redemption, Red Dead Redemption 2. Those are the only three in that. Call of
You
Juarez
sure?
is different. Yeah.
I thought
Positive.
Gun was a part of the Red Dead stuff.
I don't think so.
It's not.
Mm.
No, Call of Juarez was different. And there was like a modern one that was like in modern day.
Oh,
But
weird.
there was like a arcade one that was just like a first person Western shooter. And it was told like that, where like the guy that you're playing as is old and somebody's like talking to him and he's like reliving it. Anyway, it's also, that is also like a common thing to actually go one further than what you're saying,
Yeah.
and to actually have it told that way.
Yeah.
You know, so like you have a narrator that's like one of the characters in the story,
Right.
and they're retelling it to the, you know, you're the guy in the bar that he's talking to, right?
Yeah. I think that's also how, not a Western, but I think that's also how The Quest is set up with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Whoa.
Yeah, I went way off, but it's damn near. So it is like the action movie version of Young Guns because it's set up so similar.
Jean-Claude Van Damme movies?
I mean, be better than what we watched.
Nathan was not a fan of Unforgiven.
I like some parts.
Yeah, I mean, I like how the story is told. It is slow, but that's part of it being a Western. Because, like, there's a thing about Westerns where it's more about kind of chewing the scenery, and it's also about, like, the little pieces of the story more so than, like, getting from point A to point B as quickly as possible, and with
Yeah.
what, like, it's entertaining in a different way. It's not you know, like your generic action flick with fighting and explosions. And
Yeah, I and Westerns have like a weird relationship, as in, and I mean that as in, if I had Sundays off and I never had anything to do on Sundays, I would literally spend all Sunday morning laying on the couch watching Western movies.
I used to watch a lot of like the Louis L'Amour ones. There was one that we looked at that had the fuck is his name?
Sam Elliott.
Yeah, Sam Elliott. Kept wanting to say Sam Neill because I listened to Thor Ragnarok today. But had
And
Sam.
that should date when this podcast came out. Or
Yeah.
was recorded.
Yeah. It was called Quick and the Dead, and it was a Louis L'Amour book made into a movie, and it had Sam Elliott in it. But I didn't watch that one. There was a different one that I used to watch all the time that was a Louis L'Amour book, but it was Sam Elliott, and it was like a Civil War movie. Like, it was right after the Civil War. Like, him and his brother were on opposite sides, but then they got back together, and they had like a weird uncle. I don't know.
The
Uncle's
Patriot?
no
Okay.
Civil War. The Patriot wasn't the Patriot in Revolutionary War.
No, that was a Civil War.
Was
No,
it?
that was a Revolutionary War. You
Was
are
it?
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the main villain in that is British. He's a British commander.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Civil War.
I feel like I know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, they like end
I
up
don't
in Mexico. Like there's a dude selling guns to Mexicans from the Confederacy because he was like, we didn't lose yet. We didn't fucking give up. God damn it. What is
Said
that
Sam
movie?
Elliott's in it?
Yeah, Sam Elliott's in it.
Oh, good luck looking through his IMDb.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's got to be an
I'll-
80s movie, right?
I'll go ahead and, I mean, dude's old, so it could have been a 60s movie.
No, it was
70s.
definitely 80s, I think.
It might have been a real life Western.
1908.
So I'm not a complete shithead. I will actually talk about some points that I liked in this movie.
All right, get to it.
I like Clint Eastwood. I like Morgan Freeman. I like their friendship. I enjoyed the kid being an idiot.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gotta dig deep.
Would you?
I enjoyed the end scenes and like when, Clint Eastwood got the killing done and decided to drink and
Yeah.
I like the story. It's too old for my taste.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's something that we've talked about before too. Is that I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcasts, but how like some older movies, even not necessarily westerns, are super slow burns. I think we talked about it on the first Blade Runner podcast.
I can give you a movie that was made the same year that would also kind of be considered a Western
Okay,
that I liked a lot better.
what's that?
Last of the Mohicans
Okay,
with Daniel Day-Lewis.
was that made in 92?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can also give you a movie that I enjoyed as a child that was made in 92.
What's that?
Newsies.
Newsies. Okay.
Batman was in it.
What was that movie?
It's weird to me that you like Last of the Mohicans.
Why?
Because it's definitely like a slow burn, like, such is weird. Because the few slow burn movies we watched, you're kind of like, fuck this movie.
Well,
in A Clockwork Orange.
Well, we haven't talked about that one.
We haven't,
God,
but
I won't sit through that again.
he won't do it.
That's fine.
No. Yeah. I'll take
Um,
the night off.
So, but Last
I
of the
mean, I'll
Mohicans.
take the night off from doing the podcast. I will sign to work.
Yeah.
But you also like Dances with Wolves too, don't you?
Yeah.
See, that's a slow burn too.
It
So
had
it's
good
interesting.
story. Plus, I had Kevin Costner in it. So
Maybe it's how much story there is and whether or not it's. I want to figure it out. Is what I want to do. Is what I'm trying to do right now. So maybe it's
I'm not a good example to use for this.
no. Like I want
He's
to figure
trying to
out
figure
specifically
your mind out for some reason.
Oh.
your slow burn.
There was another one that came out that I would have liked as a kid. Batman Returns.
Was that 92?
Yeah.
That is not a slow burn.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
not what he's talking about now. He's
Right,
just
I
talking
know.
about movies that came out that year.
Yeah.
Stop trying to figure him out.
Well, I was
Oh,
just,
you
I
were
was
actually
thinking
looking
maybe
it
it's
up.
like
Hey, I looked it
cheater.
up.
depending upon how much story there is versus how much it's actually character driven is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Lethal
Yeah.
Weapon 3 came out that year.
So the movie that you were thinking of, Shane,
Uh-huh.
is called The Shadow Riders.
Yeah.
Which I should have known.
Shadowriders.
It
Your
also has
favorite
Tom Selleck in
movie.
it.
Shane's favorite movie came out in 92.
It's like my second favorite movie.
Oh, but we had to watch it that one night. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Death Becomes Her.
Yeah.
That's the same night we watched Clockwork Orange.
Is it?
We
Yeah,
watched
I
them back to
shoulda
back.
went home.
Oh, my
I
God.
should have went home.
And then, yeah. Nathan was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, Stanley Kubrick, man.
Which is weird because I really liked Full Metal Jacket.
It's totally different, though.
Oh, I'm aware.
Because, like, Full Metal
Yeah.
Jacket's like is like army movie, is a war movie. and like has a lot of
Yeah.
action and stuff in it, where Clockwork, like, it has some action in it, but it's also very like cerebral and just weird.
You know, I also really didn't care for the Warriors either. And I put that in the same like mental box as A Clockwork Orange
So
because it's like a shitty 70s movie.
I
Yeah,
have
sorry.
not watched The Warriors.
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
I have either.
The video game was okay when it came out.
Like, I feel like I've seen a lot of it, but I don't know that I've actually sat down and watched that movie.
There's some very iconic scenes in it. It's just,
yeah, I mean,
it's got action in it, but it's a lot of slow burn too. And you know why we're talking about everything else other than this movie? I think you can pick it up.
because you're fucking,
You can pick it up.
you don't want to be on the tracks.
Wow. Well, I mean, we could talk about the comic book it originated from for like 10 minutes. Oh, shit.
What?
We don't have enough content for that, do we?
No,
Because it wasn't a comic book.
no.
All right.
Okay, so
It's
actually,
okay to go off the rails then.
I wanted to ask you a question because you were talking about Morgan Freeman's character.
Yeah.
How did you feel about him being all about the whores when he left his old lady at home?
I mean, did you see her? I think he made the right decision. She didn't look happy at all. It didn't really bother me that Ned cheated on his wife with a whores.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she didn't look too enthused about him leaving or being there at all. So
Yeah, I mean, she
obviously Ned was, gonna get the most out of his vacation.
okay, so he also said that he missed his wife the first night, and then the next day he asked Will, he's like, so you ever go into town and get, he's like, yeah, I go into town and I sell a hog and buy supplies. He's like, no. You ever go into town, and get a lady? No. And he talks about his wife a little bit. And he's like, what? So you just use your hand?
Yeah.
There was a lot of weird, like, talking about dicks and masturbating and shit in this movie. It seems like for 92. Did that seem weird to anyone else?
I think it seemed weird because it was a Western. And
Yeah.
like Westerns are usually have like a little bit classier of a thing going on. But
Or at
I
least
would
like use different terminology and shit.
Yeah, but I would also say that like Westerns don't always portray the time period accurately.
Yeah.
Whereas like with this, I feel like
Well, I mean, do we know what accurate would be?
well, I mean, not super, but
Yeah.
the assumption between whorehouses and how women were treated
Now, hold on.
because
This is a movie, like, it's a Western, so is it,
Yeah.
it's like a Westerns are directed towards men, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
in general, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it's because that's what we talk about all the time. That's like the theory that men always talk about, like dicks
Yeah,
all
dick
the
and fart
time.
jokes.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the only
that
thing
could
I can
be-
equate it to.
I don't know. It's just weird. I thought it was strange.
Well,
It
I thought
felt
I could
weird
go
to me.
my whole life without hearing Morgan Freeman talking about beating off, and
Yeah, well,
then
apparently
it
not.
fucking happened.
nope.
It happened.
It definitely happened.
He said it.
I mean, that's not. I don't feel like that's the only movie. Like Lucky Number 11, he is a fucking dirty dog.
I don't know if he talks about death by snoo, but he doesn't talk about stroking yourself.
I don't know.
Not that I remember.
Do the Kansas City Shuffle.
That'd be a good watch.
Yeah, we should watch that at some point. We're just talking about other movies we should watch.
Because
Jesus
this
fucking
movie
Christ.
sucked.
This movie does not suck. This
Oh,
is
It did win Best Picture in 1992.
that brings me to a fact.
Yeah, I read
This
it.
film put to rest Clint Eastwood's long-standing statement why he would never win an Oscar. Eastwood reckoned he would never be in the running because first off,
He reckoned.
yeah. Eastwood reckoned he would never be in the running because first off, I'm not Jewish.
Holy shit.
Shots fired. Secondly, I make too much money. Thirdly, and most importantly, because I don't give a fuck. Since his double Oscar win for Unforgiven, Eastwood has gone on to win 2 more Oscars, as well as an Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award, and has been nominated an additional 6 times.
What the fuck?
I don't understand how he won anything. Cool World came out that year.
I'm fucking done. Out of every movie, out of every Cool World?
Yeah, that's how ridiculous it is to me.
That movie's a pile of trash.
Brad Pitt was in it.
Okay,
And-
Brad Pitt didn't do anything good until 1999.
Is that
Throwing that
7?
all on the table. If we're
Is that
talking
when
about Fight
7
Club.
came out? When did 7 come
Oh.
out?
Yeah. Retract your
box, man.
statement.
He's not good in 7, though. That's Morgan Freeman carrying him.
He's fine in 7.
I mean, he's fine. He's not
All
Brad
right,
Pitt.
Let's talk about Brad Pitt now.
7 came out in 95. Fine,
Yeah,
I'll give
so-
you
All
95
right, thank you.
No, fuck
when
y'all.
Kevin Spacey taught him how to act.
Yeah,
Um,
Jesus.
Shots have been fired.
Shots out of Clint Eastwood's gun because now we're toward the end of the movie.
You won't
Yeah.
hit anything unless he's
Uh,
been drinking.
Yeah, holy
That's
shit.
fucking true.
He turns into the biggest badass after he has like a bottle of whiskey.
94 Interview with a Vampire.
Well,
Nathan's over here defending Brad Pitt's honor.
that's Tom Cruise carrying him.
You just don't want to be wrong.
No, the first performance Brad Pitt gives that I feel like is a respectable performance that stands on its own is genuinely Fight Club.
I totally disagree that 7 is actually really good.
I need to rewatch 7 then. Because all I can think of is, what's in the box, man?
No, like the rest of the movie, he does genuinely have, like, he does act.
Does he?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I can only picture any of his 90s roles before Fight Club. I can only picture him being like the dumb blonde. Maybe because of the Thelma and Louise
What
thing.
the fuck?
I don't know.
Anyway,
A river runs through it.
I don't
I
know that
haven't
I've
seen
seen
that.
a river runs through it.
Legends of the Fall. What about Sleepers?
Is he in Sleepers?
Yeah, dude.
I don't remember him being in Sleepers.
There was a ton of people in Sleepers, though, so I'll give you that. But yes, he was in Sleepers.
Russell's had too much Sexton.
You know who didn't? Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, he had
Yeah,
just the right
enough.
amount. Just enough
Sons
to
of
kill
bitches.
5 men with no issues.
Yeah, so I really liked when the writer asks him, he's like, well, Little Bill said that you always shoot the most skilled man first.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah. He never confirms or denies anything. He's just like,
Well, is that
is that what you thought?
yeah, and that goes along with what we were talking about earlier with like the telephone game happening throughout the whole movie. Like every time somebody's like, "Oh yeah, did you do that?" blah blah blah, he never confirms or denies anything the
Yeah.
whole time, and he's just like, "I don't remember. I was really drunk back then. I don't know. Sure, I probably did that." You know, like even when he's like, "Yeah, I killed those women and children," it seems like he's just being an asshole. Like, "Yeah, fuck you, I did that." Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, it's almost as if he's like, well, I was blamed for it anyway. I might as well use it to intimidate people.
yeah, exactly. Like the whole thing with the 2 deputies having their guns drawn on him, and did you really, they had you dead to rights. Did you really kill both of them? I don't remember. And then Ned's later like, I think that was 3 guys, wasn't it? I don't remember.
Yeah, I love that scene
Doesn't
too.
matter. It's like, God damn it. How much of a badass is he? Well, he's pretty badass, but we only see it for like 5 minutes. And I think that's probably the only thing I don't really like about this movie is that it spends so much time building that part. And I mean, it is good. It's a good climax to the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it spends, an hour and 58 minutes building up to that, building up to like a 3-minute payoff.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that I really don't like about the movie,
Well,
which I think was a lot of why Nathan doesn't like it, because he's like, well, I've spent an hour and 58 minutes waiting for this. It better be fucking amazing. And it was good, but it wasn't long enough.
yeah.
So it should have come like a half hour earlier and been like 15 minutes long.
I think I would have also enjoyed it a little bit more if he would have came out of the tavern and gotten into more of a shootout. Like,
Yeah.
he just kills the whole town, and then he's like, all right, sex workers, this is your town now.
Yeah.
You own this shit. And then he rides off into the rainy darkness.
Yeah.
Because
Or
it doesn't
died.
end with a sunset.
I feel like he should have died.
Oh, he's got kids, man.
And
They, so he
He
leaves
just went and
his
killed,
kids.
yeah, he leaves his kids for like 3 weeks. I don't even know if it was just 3 weeks, because it's like spring and then like the 4th of July and then there's snow on the ground.
So
like, holy shit.
that was a scene I had an issue with, because he's in that hut and he's been in bed for 3 days trying to heal.
Yeah.
And when they first get there, it's like nice, it's sunny, it's whatever.
Yep.
And then like cut to 3 days later,
And there's
which
snow on the
feels like
ground.
6 months later, because there's snow everywhere.
Right.
Not like a little snow, a lot of snow. And then they're like outside talking,
Right.
and it just looks cold.
Yep.
There's no snow. I was like, what the fuck is going on with this scene? Like, why did they?
Well, I think it's probably just off the top of my head, I imagine it had to do with when and where they were shooting,
Yeah.
because I imagine you don't want to shoot wherever they were shooting in the summer, especially with old men.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So I imagine they were shooting in like the fall or the winter or the early spring, and they just randomly had a snow, and since they're shooting outside, they got to use it.
Yeah. But with what you were saying with like all the build up to the 3.5 minute payoff, I feel like that's kind of a lot of Westerns though. Like I almost feel like that's like a Western trope.
Some of them. We did have like a couple spots where there was actually a little bit of action, you know, because we had when they ambushed Davy and then his buddies, and they killed Davy, and then we had when they get Quick Mike, you know, right before the end.
Right.
But like, I feel like a lot of other action movies or other Western movies will have like 2 or 3 extended periods of action besides the payoff at the end, you know, the climax in the last, you know, 10, 15 minutes, as opposed to like one guy getting shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do we want to do some random trivia and then go to ratings?
Yeah. First bit of random trivia. I think Clint Eastwood fell down 5 times in this movie.
Specifically off the horse, or just fell down?
Just fell down. One time he was knocked down. Twice off the horse and twice with the pigs.
Okay. Although the score was arranged by Lenny Nihilus, the main theme was written by Clint Eastwood himself.
Okay.
I thought this one was interesting. The script floated around Hollywood for nearly 20 years, during which time Gene Hackman read and rejected it, only to be later convinced by Clint Eastwood, who had owned the rights to the script for some time, to play a role.
Huh. I wonder if he thought about playing Money before.
Gene?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
that's why he didn't want to do it, because
Yeah.
he didn't want to be Money. And that's what he figured would happen if he was attached to it.
Yeah, probably. Only the third Western to ever win the Best Picture Oscar, the other two being Dances with Wolves and Cimarron? Cimarron is a 1931 film.
Cimarron.
I like Dances with Wolves.
We'll do that during our Kevin Costner special run.
I can't take that. It's too much.
Dude, I would love to watch The Postman and Dances with Wolves, and
I love
Waterworld.
Kevin Costner movies.
I'll do Waterworld.
I would much rather watch Mr. Brooks.
Oh, I'd watch that again.
See,
I like Robin Hood. That's my favorite.
my favorite Kevin Costner movies are his post-apocalyptic movies.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
I get
man.
it.
So Waterworld?
I like post-apocalyptic shit too.
To maintain the authentic atmosphere, no motor vehicles were allowed on the Big Whiskey set.
I mean, okay, that makes sense. Is that not a normal thing?
Oh, okay, here we go. Most of the rain in the film was specially created because Calgary, where it was shot, was experiencing a dry spell.
Except for the fucking snow.
Though the snowfall that is featured when William Money is recovered from his beating was unexpected and unscripted.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, they were in Canada. It snows like 11 out of the 12 months there.
Yep.
The boots that Clint Eastwood wore in this film are the same boots that he wore in the television series Rawhide, 1959.
Jesus.
These boots are now a part of Eastwood's private collection and were on loan in the 2005 Sergio Leone exhibit at the Gene Autry Museum of Western Heritage in Los Angeles. In essence, these boots have bookended Eastwood's career in the Western genre.
Sergio Leone, Leone.
Yeah, Leone.
Yeah, Leone. Spaghetti westerns. What?
No, that's the term. I know.
Yeah, it's westerns, directed or written by Italians. Yeah, spaghetti westerns.
Sir Richard Harris who plays English Bob.
Yep.
Was watching High Plains Drifter on television when Clint Eastwood phoned him to offer him the part.
That's fucking awesome. That reminds me of a story that Mikhail Arkefeld told on stage when we saw Opeth once.
Mm-hmm.
They had a new drummer, and he was like, "Yeah, I called him," and was like, he's like telling this in between songs. He's like, "Yeah, I called him," and he answered, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you tell the rest of it?" So the guy's like, "Yeah, I answered the phone, and he asked me if I had anything going on, and I said, well, I'm standing outside my apartment building watching it burn down, so I guess no, I can come on tour."
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I remember you telling that story before.
I was like, "That's fucking insane."
Yeah, I guess I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything. I don't have any things left to my name. I guess I could use the money.
Wow.
Continue with the trivia.
In the early 1980s, Francis Ford Coppola got a hold of the script.
What?
He met with John Malkovich to offer him the role of William Money. Malkovich recalled, "The offer was not very serious, thank God. I say that for myself and the poor public, and for Clint, absolutely. I would have been a total failure. Total. Who would have wanted to see that? I wouldn't. I would have just been acting schmacting? All right, John."
What?
There are some things you can only have with a kind of mythic figure, which Clint is. Malkovich would later go on to work with Eastwood in The Line of Fire and The Changeling.
I kind of want to see that.
I want to visit that alternate universe where that movie happened.
No.
Nathan is not interested.
There's only like one Unforgiven I like, and it was done by Metallica. So
You didn't like any of the pay-per-views?
maybe like a couple.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Oh, with this movie, Clint Eastwood joined a list of actors who have won an Oscar for directing but not for acting, which include Woody Allen, Warren Beatty, Robert Redford, Sir Richard Attenborough, Kevin Costner, and Mel Gibson.
What? Robert Redford hasn't won an acting Oscar?
I guess.
What the fuck?
It took Clint Eastwood several years to actually get around to reading the script, as his script reader had initially told him that it wasn't very good.
His script reader was Nathan.
That guy's a fucking genius. He deserves an Oscar.
Later, it is confirmed in the facts that Gene Hackman had turned down the part of Mooney before the script came to Clint Eastwood. Money.
Huh, yeah, so I was right about that too.
Okay.
I'm so smart.
Yes, you are. Do you use your hand?
All the time.
Clint Eastwood said at the time that this would be the last movie that he would both act in and direct.
Lies.
But he went on to appear in quite a lot of movies he directed since then.
Fucking lies.
Wasn't he a boxing manager in a movie that he directed?
Yep.
Or owned a really old car in a movie he directed?
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
There's way more than that.
Oh,
there
I
were
know.
a
I
bunch in
just
the
wanted
90s
names.
that I don't remember.
Yeah, but those were like two infamous ones that are kind of newer that won like awards.
Yeah.
This film was shot in 39 days, coming in 4 days ahead of schedule. The town had to be built very quickly with a relatively short run-up time. 2 months to the start of filming. The construction period was used by the stunt coordinator to work on actors' writing skills and stunt choreography. We'll make this the last fact and go into ratings.
Okay.
As of 2018, this is Clint Eastwood's final Western. I do believe that still stands.
Huh. I mean, that sounds right. I'm sure they know better than I do. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and rate this one first. I'm going to give it a 7.5. I really like Clint Eastwood. There were a couple of parts in this movie where I found his acting to be unbelievable. And I don't know if that was on purpose, because it was often where he was repeating his kind of mantra about being a good person because of his wife. I don't know if that was him acting like he didn't believe it himself. Which could be, in which case that's fantastic, and he did a great job. I also fucking hated the kid when he first came around, and I mean, I imagine that was also on purpose, because he was just like, when you're in like 4th grade and you learn what swear words are,
Yep.
and you just start chaining them together and have no idea what fuck, shit, and piss mean.
Yeah,
and you
dumb
just,
bitch cup motherfucker.
Yeah, and you're just like spouting them off, and it makes no sense. That's what that character sounded like the entire movie. I fucking hated it. And I'm sure that's on purpose, but I just can't stand it. It fucking pissed me off. I like the story of this movie, but like I said earlier, I think it should have been, an hour and 15 or an hour and a half of build up to, 15 to 20 minutes of payoff instead of 3 minutes of payoff. So, I'm giving it a 7.5. I honestly, with a couple of the movies that Nathan listed off that came out the same year, I guess depending on what month they came out, don't understand how this won Best Picture, other than Clint basically daring them to give him an Oscar.
Yeah. I think this is an Oscar film. I guess I kind of disagree. I see why this film won an Oscar. But
well, I'm not saying that Lethal Weapon 3 should have won an Oscar.
Yeah, no. I'm saying this was Oscar bait. I'm saying, I like Clint Eastwood. I got a lot of respect for Clint Eastwood.
Oh, I do too.
between reading what he had said and then this movie coming out, I feel like you're right, and he was daring them.
Yeah.
But overall, I enjoy this movie. However, one of my goals personally before I die is to write and have a Western made. Just one. I just want to do one. And this movie would be, going into that, this would definitely be one of the movies that I sit down to watch beforehand, to kind of get the ins and outs of and decide what I want to do and what I didn't want to do. Ultimately, I'm going to give this movie a 7. While it's cohesive and compelling most of the time, it also, I don't think it does the slow burn necessarily right, because it's it kind of suffers from what we talked about with the establishing shots and the extra scenery shots.
Yeah.
That drag the movie along, which I also feel is a Western trope.
Right.
But I don't know that there's a Western out there that I would rate higher than an 8. So I'm going to throw that out there as well. And we'll see how that turns around when we go to watch some more. But yeah, so I'm going to rate it a 7.
I don't know, man. Tombstone.
I mean, per memory, Tombstone's my 8. So
okay.
Tombstone, Young Guns, per my memory, would be my 8s. And then there's nothing else that's a Western out there that I think stands up to that. Hateful Eight might be a 7.5. Might be a 6.5 depending on my mood.
Have you seen Appaloosa?
I've not watched Appaloosa.
We should watch that at some point. I mean, just for shits and giggles, maybe not for the podcast, but
yeah.
I really like that too. All right, Nathan, what did you think?
Okay, I'm ready.
He's ready for you.
On the 65th Academy Awards, Unforgiven won Best Picture.
Okay, who'd it beat out?
Fucker, I don't know. I don't know.
Sorry.
You're ruining my fucking moment.
Take 2.
No, fuck it. Anyway, Gene Hackman won Best Supporting Actor in Unforgiven. Clint Eastwood won Best Director in Unforgiven. Let's see if there's anything else here. Nope, that was it. No, hold on, there's more. Last Mohicans won a bunch of shit. So, this movie, a rating. Well, I find it interesting that Shane rated this movie the same as Thor Ragnarok with a 7.5. So, that's kind of interesting to me because I enjoy Thor Ragnarok a lot more. And maybe it's just because like my attention span is terrible. So I'll give you that. And in the 90s, movies are a lot different in the 90s than they are now. So I can also go with that too. For me, and this is not a dig at Clint Eastwood at all. Clint Eastwood's an amazing actor. He's obviously a great director, writer, producer, all that stuff. Morgan Freeman, pretty much the voice of God. So you can't really say anything bad about Morgan Freeman, who's also been in many great movies. This movie to me is like when you're on a very long journey and you get your dip can out and there's only one pinch left. And it's not even enough for a full pinch. It's there, but that's all you got. It's like you only have that half of a cigarette left in your pack. So that's the rating I'm going to give it.
Half a cigarette.
Yeah. It's enough of nicotine to get you to your next pack, but you really wish you had a whole one.
All right. Okay.
Other movies that might have been more entertaining in 92, The Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield. That was more entertaining.
Jesus.
Lawnmower Man. That was more entertaining.
Oh shit.
Yeah, in 92. So next time you're at your local video store and you're looking for a fancy VHS to rent,
I know why Unforgiven won Best Picture. I wouldn't have picked it out of these 5 movies, but I know why it won. So here's the 5 movies: Unforgiven, which won? The Crying Game.
Okay.
Oh,
What?
was Chaplin in that?
No.
Oh,
Howard's End. Never even heard of that.
Okay.
Scent of a Woman.
Okay.
A Few Good Men.
yeah.
What?
I
How did
would've
it
picked
beat
A
out
Few
A
Good
Few
Men.
Good Men?
But
That movie's so good.
that movie's awesome.
Denzel Washington did a movie, Malcolm X, that also came out in '92.
A
Home
lot of the
Alone 2
ones.
came out in '92. I mean, how did that?
A
not
lot of the
win?
ones that you were talking about were the first few that you said. I know Dances with Wolves was in there. That was in the '92 Oscars. Dances with Wolves actually won Best Picture. Unforgiven won in '93, so I'm assuming it came out after Oscar season of '92.
Yeah. Well, the Oscars typically happen in what, like March?
Yeah, so
So
the end of '92, which
you
is
had to
why,
go to the 65th Academy
Yeah.
Awards to get that.
So in '92, Beauty and the Beast, which I think came out at the end of '91, because I think that came out around Christmas, didn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you see that Aladdin won, like, best? I don't know. It won the
Animated
same award.
feature.
Yeah, it won because Disney wins an award every fucking year.
Yeah, because it's fucking Disney.
They are the Oscars.
I want to close this out with 2 more things.
Let's do
Okay.
3 Ninjas came out that year,
it.
and to top it all off, probably the greatest movie ever done by Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. White Men Can't Jump.
Gee.
That was a great movie.
Oh,
I want to
man.
give a shout out to Rosie Perez for
Oh.
that movie.
Okay.
If you've seen it, you understand.
I mean, I
I've
liked her
seen the
better in
movie.
that Lottery movie with Nicolas Cage.
Lottery movie.
Where so fun fact, that's that's a movie I took my first like girlfriend to on a date, and I cannot remember the name of it. But Nicolas
Nick Cage.
Cage, he wins the lottery, and or he promises he didn't have the money to tip the waitress, and he wins
Yep.
the lottery, and then he goes back and tips her with the winnings from his lottery ticket and splits it down the middle with her.
I don't know what
Yeah.
that's called.
And Rosie Perez was his wife in it, and
What the
she was
fuck?
Rosie Perez. I cannot remember the name of it either.
God damn it.
It
I
Can
know
Only
that.
Happen to You? No.
It Could Happen to You is the name of whatever that.
I think that
That's not it. That's the name
It's
of
something along those lines.
That's
though.
the name of a movie, but I don't think that's the right movie.
Yeah.
it could happen to you. That
Is
is
it?
what it's called.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
My
job.
first date movie. What year did it come out?
That was your
92.
first date movie?
Yeah, I think so.
1994.
That was dope shit.
Close enough.
I took a girl to a movie when I was like 10 or 11.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
All right.
Yeah, he's trying to berate me.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Not berating you. I was just
You
questioning.
taking a girl out when you're 7? What
No,
the
man.
fuck?
I was
It
questioning
happened.
your memory more so than anything.
No, I remember watching that movie with her. Her name was Kelly.
Well, shout out to Kelly if you're still out there.
And if you're not doing anything, hit me up on Twitter.
He
Big
hasn't watched It
smooth.
Could Happen to You in a while.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a lie. But
I watched it this morning.
yeah.
But if you're listening, it could happen to
Oh
you.
my
Yeah.
god. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of DQP Does, where we tried to talk about Unforgiven and failed spectacularly. We'll see you in hell, Bill Money.
probably 9 weeks ago, Nathan was grumpy with me. So English
That
Bob.
doesn't make any sense. It's current.
This isn't.
Yeah, this isn't gonna come out for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope I'm alive.
Me too.
Hmm.
Oh, this could end up
Unlike
being really
Ned.
weird to listen to.
Oh
Jesus.
man.
Oh no. What guy's named Ned die and everything?
Yeah.
Well, at least he still had his fucking head.
That's true. Oh no, we can't leave that.
What the fuck?
That's not what I meant, but that sounds way worse than I thought it would. Oops. That's
My
how
podcast gets delayed because I talk about biscuit butts. Yeah, fucking wheat pennies, you know.
that's I
This podcast has gone to shit. Let's talk about other things. Let's talk about Big Big's brew, the only brew that will get you hyped and jacked and ready to work out. No bullshit. All the fantastic ingredients.
So we watched Total Recall tonight.
Oh my God. Let's talk
And-
about Total Recall. 3 titties. 3 titties. Baby, you make me wish I had 3 hands. That was actually a part of the movie. That black guy, remember?
While you're getting ready, I really want to burn that fucking pillow because every time I look at Nathan, I see Ryan Gosling out of the corner of my eye, and I think that there's somebody on the couch in the living room.
When you look at me, you think of Ryan Gosling. That's awesome.
Because there's a fucking
No, that's what I
pillow
heard.
with Ryan Gosling's face on it,
That's what I heard, man.
laying on the pillow as though he were a person laying on the couch.
So if I said you can hit me up on Twitter and I'll hit you up on your twatter, is that okay to say? No?
Probably
Okay.
not.
Edit, I guess. Whatever. I was just trying to be funny.
This has been a production of the Drafty Quarters Podcast Network.